Here, the world is slower, the stories are stranger, and the shadows, well, they linger a little longer. If you're here, you're probably looking for something, maybe peace, maybe answers, or maybe just a voice to carry you into sleep while the past hums beneath your pillow. Let's begin tonight's journey with a tale so quiet, even the ruins left behind don't speak of it anymore. This is the story of a city that vanished in a single night. You begin in silence, not the kind that comes with bedtime when the hum of distant traffic and fridge compressors fill the edges. No, this is a deep silence, a before the invention of sound barriers kind of silence, the type of quiet you'd expect if the sky were holding its breath. The air is heavy with the scent of stone, not dust. Stone, damp, ancient, reluctant to crumble stone, you walk slowly because rushing wouldn't help, not here. The path beneath your feet is uneven, worn smooth by hundreds of feet that stopped walking a very long time ago. Cobblestones, mostly intact but shifted just slightly out of alignment like a smile after too many secrets. Around you, low hills rise in soft silhouettes, but it's not the landscape that tugs at your attention. It's what's missing, you feel it. Something should be here, life maybe, or echoes. But instead, there's just the strange hush of a city that once had walls, statues, fountains, even laughter, and now nothing but outlines. A ruined arch stretches above your head, as if welcoming you home, though it doesn't remember your name. You might not make it through this night, but not because of fear. Because you might fall asleep trying to understand how a place this real simply ceased to be. Before we truly begin, feel free to gently tap the like button, unless your hands are already tucked under a warm blanket. And if you're still with us, let us know in the comments where you're listening from, and what time sleep calls your name tonight. Now let's ease into tonight's journey, shall we? The city was called or possibly Kalishtar. Historians have argued for decades over the original name, mainly because every surviving map spells it differently, and none of them are in a language we fully understand. But one thing is clear. It stood where the salt winds of the eastern mountains met the warm sigh of the inland sea. It was not a small city. It had gates taller than pine trees, a trade market buzzing with dialects from across the known world, and according to the more dramatic stone tablets, a temple whose inner sanctum was kept in total darkness, where even the priests wore blindfolds. You know, just in case the gods didn't like eye contact. As the city thrived, you can picture it now. Incense coiling lazily through bathhouse steam, bread baking in clay ovens, kids stealing olives when they thought no one was looking. And then one night, without warning, disappeared. No war, no flood, no earthquake, no fire, just silence. The next merchant caravan that arrived found every home abandoned, food still warm, oil lamps flickering, and even a cat perched on a balcony meowing into the void. Historians still debate whether the city was emptied by some forgotten curse, a chemical accident, or perhaps just a very organized relocation. But then again, very few relocation efforts leave every shoe still by the doorway and no human footprints leading away. What remains now are bones without flesh, aqueducts leading to nothing, amphitheaters overgrown with night-blooming vines, and mosaics half swallowed by sand. Archaeologists dug up an entire library once, or rather, the stone shells of and melted remnants of scrolls, suggesting that someone had tried to burn knowledge that refused to be remembered. So, and here's a little cultural gem. One tablet described a local funeral tradition involving burying the deceased with an intricately carved whistle in their mouth. The idea, That if the dead changed their mind and returned, they could blow the whistle from underground. Charming. You pass a toppled statue now. Its face is worn smooth, but its hand still points toward the sea. Some say it's a warning, others say it was just badly balanced. As the wind shifts, you smell salt and something fainter like dried herbs and old paper. You turn a corner and there's the temple, or what's left of it. The black stone is warm to the touch even in the night air. Too warm, almost pulsing. There's something strange about the stones here. They don't reflect moonlight the same way the rest of the city does. In fact, the more you stare, the more you realize they don't reflect anything at all. You reach out, you touch the wall, and for a moment you swear it breathes back. But maybe that's just your tired mind playing tricks on you. After all, it's late, and you're wandering through a city that doesn't officially exist. You walk into the temple because, well, why not? The doorframe still stands and the night has grown warmer somehow, like the world is wrapped in invisible wool. It's inside, the shadows aren't just darker, they're thicker, more present. Like they're aware you've stepped in and are now politely deciding whether you should stay. The floor here is made of crushed onyx, once polished so fine that the ancients used it as a mirror. You can still see patches of that eerie reflection in places where time's fingers haven't quite worn it away. And if you squint, you might notice something a bit unsettling. Your reflection doesn't quite move at the same time as you do. This temple, as the scroll fragments claimed, was dedicated to the Veiled One. Scholars have translated this as a forgotten deity, possibly feminine, possibly plural, possibly not a god at all, but rather a force, an idea. One passage describes the Veiled One as the silence between two thoughts. That's either the most poetic god ever or the city's collective insomnia given spiritual form. At the temple's center, there is, or was, a bowl carved from moonstone, always filled with still water. No birds, insects, or animals would drink from it, but people did. Pilgrims traveled from as far as the frost-rimmed western coast just to sip from that bowl, hoping to see something in the ripples. A name, a fate, a warning. What they saw, they never wrote down, probably because their hands were too busy shaking. You reach the spot where the bowl once stood. There's a hollow in the pedestal, perfectly circular, still rimmed with dust from long evaporated minerals. And just beside it, scratched into the stone floor, is a single word in a script that no known civilization should have been using at that time. The symbol looks like a coiled eye. And here's a fun little footnote, though we don't do footnotes here. The symbol also appears in burial chambers scattered thousands of miles apart across different continents and centuries. But sure coincidence. You step carefully, each footfall echoing too loud for your liking. The whispering begins just as you pass beneath what used to be the central dome. It's not real whispering, of course, just wind threading through crumbled architecture, probably. Unless it's the Veiled One still lingering between thoughts, annoyed at the intrusion. One ancient record claimed the city used to hold a festival every 27th night when the moon hung lowest and in the sky. They called it the breathing sleep. Everyone in the city would lie down in silence, facing the temple, and remain motionless from dusk to dawn. It was considered rude, dangerous even to speak during this time. Children were lulled to stillness with lullabies about shadows that count your blinks. Why did they do this? No one agrees. Some say it was a peace offering to something beneath the city. Others say it was tradition and no one questioned it, which honestly is probably the most terrifying explanation of all. You rest your hand against the stone pillar, breathing slowly. The silence has weight now, pressing gently on your chest like a curious cat. Outside, the moon rises just enough to cast a broken shape through the temple's open roof. The longer you stand here, the more you realize something strange. There are no insects, no owl calls, no skittering things, just your breath, and that feeling in your bones that something remembers you. Historians still debate whether this temple's design predates the rest of the city, suggesting that may have been built around it, not as a place of worship, but as containment. You step back, the dome above seems slightly lower than before. And the shadows, they're definitely closer now. Shall we keep walking? You leave the temple with deliberate care, like someone quietly exiting a conversation they were never part of to begin with. The air outside feels cooler now, though that could be the temple's lingering heat peeling away from your skin. You don't look back, not out of fear, really, just a kind of instinct. The same instinct that tells you not to check under your bed at night, even if you know there's nothing there. The path ahead winds past what must once been gardens. You can tell by the low stone borders forming tangled patterns in the dirt. Most of the greenery is gone now, replaced by stubborn weeds and vines that grow too evenly, too purposefully. Some of them shimmer faintly in the dark, moonward perhaps. A plant ancient herbalists swore could open locked doors and graves. In the center of the garden ruins stands a dry fountain. No grand centerpiece, no cherub spitting water, just a round basin and a column of stone. Upon it, carved in a looping, indecipherable script, are symbols that resemble musical notes, but not quite. The spacing's wrong, as if they're meant to be read aloud instead of played. Of course, no one's done that in a few thousand years. The last archaeologist who tried disappeared mid-expedition and was later found in a neighboring valley, curled beneath a tree and humming to herself in a language no one could translate. She never returned to academia, but her humming never stopped. You run your hand along the stone column. It's smoother than the others, worn not just by time but by touch. Generations must have pressed their palms here, hopping for luck, or guidance, or absolution. One tiny etching near the base reads, "Wait here when the moon is wrong," whatever that means. According to a fragment of lore recovered from a fire-damaged scroll, citizens believed that every lunar cycle had a misstep a night where the moon would momentarily forget its place in the sky. During that window, time itself was thought to hesitate. A breathing pause. That was the night when doors whispered and dreams walked. Oddly, a few modern physicists who studied the city's coordinates have noted something off. Instruments measuring gravity, magnetism, and even time dilation behave erratically in the ruins. Clocks drift. Compasses spin. GPS maps don't match reality by a few meters, which doesn't sound like much, until you realize that means the entire city technically isn't where it says it is. You pass an alley now, flanked by low, windowless buildings. Storage rooms maybe, or bakeries. One still smells faintly of char and old cloves. A brittle wooden cart sits abandoned, its wheel wedged in the cracked stones like it gave up trying to escape. And there it is again, that feeling, you're being watched, not aggressively, more like how a cat watches a leaf fall. Mild curiosity, no promises. You pause near a doorway and notice something carved into the lintel. A sun with too many rays, 13 to be exact. A number long considered unlucky in many cultures, but here it was revered. Some ancient texts describe the 13th ray as the one unseen, believed to guide the spirits of those who vanished, not died, vanished. Their term for it roughly translates to those returned to shadow. The charming. You lean against the wall for a moment. The stone is cool again, grounded, solid. And yet, something inside it thrums like distant thunder muffled by centuries of silence. The scholars still debate whether the city ever truly vanished, or if the people who found it empty simply arrived on the wrong day. Or worse, the wrong version of the city. You close your eyes just for a second, the wind breathes past your ear, and in it, only if you're listening, you hear it. Well, the sound of footsteps is not yours. You don't move right away, you let the silence stretch just to see what it does. The footsteps stop when yours do, you could call out. But to what exactly, silence doesn't often reply. Instead, you move forward, turning down another path, this one more narrow, more crooked, like it was never meant to be part of the original design. Some of the paving stones here are different, newer. Almost like they were added later. A patch job on a forgotten vein. Ahead lies a small courtyard. The centerpiece is a broken column wrapped in rusted chains. Odd, considering there's no obvious reason for chains in a public space. No gate, no door, no hinge. Just bindings around stone, as if something once needed to be kept still. Etched into the stone are tally marks, hundreds of them, each one distinct. Not carved in a frenzy, these were slow, deliberate, methodical, a ritual perhaps, or a calendar. A prisoner's countdown to what? Here's a delightfully obscure cultural tidbit. Children were apparently taught to count not in numbers but in breaths. Each unit represented the time it took to inhale, think of your ancestors, and exhale. It's said they could count the dead this way, not in how many had passed, but how long they'd been listening. You sit by the column, letting your legs rest. The wind circles the courtyard like it knows the way. Nearby, a door creaks open, not because of you, but because it wants to. It swings inward, revealing a narrow stairwell spiraling downward into the earth. There's no torch, no light, just a suggestion of cold, damp air rising from the steps. You hesitate naturally. Historians still debate whether it had a formal. Most cities of its time had underground chambers, cisterns, tombs, vaults, but no one has found proper blueprints here. Only guesses. And sometimes guessing too hard opens doors better left closed. But you're here and you're not turning back now. Each step down is smooth. Too smooth. Worn into a kind of curve as though something had slithered its way up and down over and over. The air thickens, sounds muffle, your own breath becomes louder than your footsteps. At the bottom of the stairwell, there's a chamber, circular, perfectly so, which is strange because most ancient builders didn't bother with that level of precision underground, unless they were trying to contain something. In the center, a stone table, on it a mask, plain, featureless, white though stained with age. Behind it, painted on the wall, is a figure, not a god, not a human, more like a silhouette with too many limbs draped in long fabric head bowed as if listening. Well, you don't touch the mask. You've read enough eerie inscriptions tonight. But on the table, scratched faintly beside it, are words in your own language. Fresh, not ancient, not even weathered. Well, they say, you saw the wrong moon. You step back, the air has shifted again. The silence is thicker. You feel it crawling into your ears, coiling like incense. You hear a breath that isn't yours. The room pulses ever so slightly, not with noise, with memory. And above you, far above, something shifts in the stone. You climb the stairs a little faster now, not running, but not quite strolling either. The kind of pace you'd take when the hallway light flickers and you refuse to look behind you because you're a grown adult and you don't believe in ghosts. And yet, your heartbeat politely disagrees. When you step out of the stairwell, you expect the courtyard to greet you, but instead, you're somewhere else. The air is warmer, the stone underfoot is smoother, and most telling of all, the chains around the broken column are gone. You stare for a long time, then blink slowly, hoping it's just your eyes adjusting. But no, it's not a trick of the light. You're in the same courtyard, but not the same moment. A fresh vine climbs a nearby pillar. There's the scent of cooking in the air, saffron and roasted grains. You hear distant laughter, a flute, and voices. You are quite impossibly in before it vanished. There are people here, real people, women balancing baskets on their hips, boys chasing each other past a market stall, a man selling spiced dates from a polished wooden cart. They don't see you. Or if they do, they don't care. You're like fog on the edge of their reality. You walk among them unnoticed. The air hums with quiet activity, but underneath something feels off, like a play staged too perfectly. No birds, no dogs barking, no clouds, just motion and repetition. You notice the same man passing by twice. Same stride, same nod. The illusion is delicate and it's fraying at the corners. As far as scholars can gather, believed life ran in loops, not cycles, loops. They wrote of the moment of repeating, a sacred event where time brushed up against itself and replayed a scene not to learn from it, but because it liked how it sounded. Some even claimed these loops explained. A glitch, if you like, except they thought the glitch was the point. An old woman pauses near you. She's the only one who seems aware. Her eyes narrow as she leans on her walking stick, fingers gnarled like dried branches. She looks directly at you, and with a voice like worn stone, she whispers, "Don't drink from the bowl." And then she keeps walking. You glance back toward the temple, now whole and shadowless in the daylight. Its roof gleams like obsidian. Inside, if you dared to enter again, you suspect you'd find the bowl full, rippling, waiting. Well, you don't go in, not yet. Instead, you follow the path to the edge of the market where a group of children gathers around a low platform. A performer is telling stories, his hands animated, his voice rising and falling with practiced flair. The tale is about a shadow with no owner, a thing that wandered from person to person, whispering secrets of how they'd die. The only way to silence it, invite it inside. You'd expect children to laugh, but they sit still, wide-eyed. One of them clutches a doll carved from bone. You feel a prickling sensation on your skin, like someone's breathing close to your neck. But when you turn, the market has vanished. Not faded, vanished. The air cools in an instant, the vines rot mid-climb, the laughter ends. You are alone again. Historians still debate whether the vision of past is triggered by something environmental, fungal spores, perhaps hallucinogens in the soil. But the same vision has been reported by multiple researchers, years apart, none of whom had shared notes. All described the old woman, all heard the same warning. You turn back toward the temple. The bowl might still be waiting. You enter the temple again, not because you're reckless, but because the story is pulling you there. And let's be honest, you're a little curious now. The air is even thicker than before. Not humid, not musty thick, like you're moving through a liquid version of silence. Your footsteps are dull, swallowed before they echo. The bowl is there, full just as you expected. The moonstone gleams in the dim light leaking through a cracked dome above. And the water still, too still, as if frozen in place without being frozen at all. You stare into it. At first, it's your reflection. Then, not quite, your face lingers, but the surroundings shift. The temple darkens behind your mirrored image, then brightens, then flickers. The bowl shows you variations, versions, whole, burning, submerged beneath water. In one vision, the city is upside down in the sky, its streets hanging like chandeliers. You pull away, gasping. The bowl remains still, unbothered, but your hands are shaking. There's a scratching sound behind you, not claws, not footsteps. A slow dragging noise like someone pulling a heavy cloth across a stone floor. You don't look back, not yet. Instead, you fix your eyes on the columns surrounding the bowl. You hadn't noticed the carvings before. They're high up, etched faintly into the stone ribs of the dome. Figures, not of gods or people, but of faceless shapes. Each holds a vessel. Each is pouring something out. One archaeologist, decades ago, claimed these figures represented the sleepers' mythical beings said to dream cities into existence, only to forget them later. When asked if they were gods, she laughed and said, "No, just bad storytellers with insomnia." She disappeared 3 weeks after publishing that theory. At the base of one column, you spot another inscription, partially rubbed away by time. It reads, "The city ends when the bowl is empty." You glance at the water, still full, still waiting. You hear the dragging sound again, louder now, closer, so you turn. And there it is. A figure no taller than you, cloaked in layers of sheer black fabric, each veil fluttering slightly despite the still air. You can't see its face, you're not sure it has one. It doesn't move toward you, it just waits. You recall a detail from one of the stranger academic reports. A clay tablet discovered near the temple long ago showing a similar figure. The translation. The veiled one stands only when the bowl is filled. Which raises the obvious question, who fills the bowl? Your knees feel weaker now. The figure lifts its head slightly, just enough to suggest attention. You whisper because it seems rude not to. "I didn't drink." There's no response, just the silence, and the figure waiting. You back away slowly. You don't turn your back this time. You exit the temple into a world that looks shifted. The stars are out of place. The sky seems stretched like a canvas pulled too tight. And far off on the edge of your hearing, you swear you can make out chanting. Not loud, not urgent, just steady. Something is beginning. Or ending. And you're still here. The chanting grows louder as you walk, but not because you're getting closer. It's as if the sound is rising from the ground beneath your feet, slipping through the cracks of ancient stone like warm air through floorboards. You pause beside what used to be a bakery, judging by the blackened oven mouth and the way the walls are still faintly scented with burnt flour and fennel. The sky above you has taken on a purplish hue, not the gentle kind you get at dusk, but something deeper, heavier, like the color of a bruise that's just starting to bloom. The stars, though scattered wrong, pulse faintly, as if blinking in unison. You try to find constellations just for comfort, but they've been rearranged like a puzzle you're not supposed to solve. As you continue, the street begins to slope downward, gently at first, then more sharply. The city, it turns out, is not flat. Was built along the edge of something vast, some kind of ravine or fault, or, as one explorer once wrote before promptly disappearing, a great stone mouth that yawns at the bottom of the world. You reach the edge and peer down. It's not quite a cliff, not quite a stairwell. More like a descending spiral pathway carved directly into the rock, wide enough for carts or processions. Carved into the wall beside you is a relief of people walking downward with heads bowed, carrying long poles topped with dangling lights. At the base of each figure, a shadow trails behind, not attached to their feet but moving independently. A stone inscription reads, "Only the shadows returns." The charming. You begin the descent one cautious step at a time. The chanting is louder now, not in volume but in presence. You can feel it in your spine. The words are unintelligible but rhythmic, repetitive, soothing in a deeply unsettling way. According to one recovered journal, believed that sleep was not a state of rest but of travel. That every time you closed your eyes, your soul wandered. And sometimes, just sometimes, it wandered too far. That's why they said it was dangerous to sleep too long near the fault line. The dreaming could go too deep. You reach a stone platform halfway down the spiral. In the center, a massive disc of dark metal is embedded in the floor. It hums faintly, not mechanically, more like a tuning fork after being struck. Around its edge are tiny symbols, barely visible in the dim light. One matches the coiled eye you saw earlier. Another resembles a spiral. A third looks suspiciously like a cracked bowl. The scholars still debate whether this disc was a seal, a portal, or simply a decorative drain cover made by someone with far too much flair. Theories range from lost technology to proof of psychic architecture. Yes, that was a real academic paper. The disc is warm under your hand. You press your palm to it and the humming sharpens slightly like it recognizes your presence. You half expect it to open or pulse or whisper, but it doesn't. Instead, the chanting stops. Completely. You glance up. The city is no longer above you. You're no longer in. It's not a dream. You know that with a certainty so deep it sits behind your ribs like a second heart. Wherever this is, it's beneath or beside it, or before it. You stand in a hallway, impossibly smooth and dark as though carved from obsidian. The air is cooler here, dry and thin, like breathing inside a sealed jar. The light comes from the walls themselves, just enough to see the path forward, but never the ceiling. You take a step, the floor doesn't echo, it accepts you. Lining the hallway are alcoves, each containing something different. A bowl of salt perfectly preserved. A cloak stitched with symbols you can't quite look at without your eyes sliding away. A tooth, large enough to belong to something that should never have fit inside streets. This apparently is the archive. The term comes from a strange tablet recovered from one of the deeper dig sites. Written in overlapping scripts, the translation was debated for decades until a linguist claimed it simply said, "Where the memories hide when the city forgets itself." Not everyone agreed. Some thought it was a place of prophecy, others a prison. At least one fringe theorist called it an elaborate sewer for dreams. You pause at one alcove that contains only a mirror. The glass is rippled like the surface of a pond, and something about it makes your teeth itch. You lean closer just slightly, and for a heartbeat you see something staring back. Not your reflection. No, just eyes. Then it's gone. You step away. The hallway bends slightly, leading you to a chamber much wider than it has any right to be. The walls curve upward and inward like the inside of a shell. In the center stands a figure. You know it's not real, or not alive. It's a statue, life-sized, maybe taller, carved from a dark gray stone with the shimmer of volcanic glass. The figure wears a veil just like the one in the temple fresco, arms outstretched, palms up, waiting. In its hands rest two bowls, the one full, the one empty. At its feet are bones, dozens of them, arranged neatly like offerings, some human, some very much not. You do not move closer. According to one esoteric belief held by a sect of the city itself was a gatekeeper, not for a place but for a state, a condition of being, a transition between waking and not waking, they claimed was never meant to survive, only to hold the line. The scholars still debate whether the city's collapse was intentional, a ritual, a sacrifice, or maybe just entropy dressed up in mythology. You look down at the empty bowls, and now you understand. The city disappears when the bowl is emptied, but only after it's been filled. And maybe you, dear traveler, were never here to observe. Maybe you were brought here to complete the loop. You step back from the statue, careful not to disturb the dust or the bones or the terrible calm that seems to pool around the base of the figure. The chamber is silent again. That humming from before, the gentle vibration from the disc embedded in the spiral's path is gone. It's too quiet now, the kind of quiet that watches. You consider the two bowls again, one brimming with something black and glassy, liquid maybe or not quite. The surface reflects nothing, not even the faint glow from the walls. The other bowl is dry, etched with scratches as though something had once tried to claw its way out of it. You do not touch either. Instead, you look up and for the first time you notice the ceiling. It's not stone, it's glass or something like it. And through it, faint and warped, you see the stars again, though they do not match any sky you've ever known. They spiral inwards like water being sucked down a drain, flickering, stretching, repeating themselves in patterns that make your stomach turn. The astronomers had a word for this, the folded sky. They believed time was not a line nor a circle, but a coil, like a snake resting, then waking, then resting again. And sometimes, when it rolled over in its sleep, the stars would shift out of place. You'd see yesterday, or tomorrow, or something no one had written yet. You glance back toward the hallway, but it's gone, not hidden, gone, as if this chamber was always the only place. You notice something new, a small alcove behind the statue, half hidden. It leads down a tight passage, barely wide enough for a single person. The air is colder there, but dry. The walls flicker with symbols that change every time you blink. You go in. Because of course you do. At the end of the passage is a room no bigger than a closet. It contains only a table, a candle, and a single scroll laid open. The scroll is written in that same near-familiar language you've seen before, and yet somehow you can read it. It says, "The listener returns, they always return. We leave the city full for them, we leave the door open. They come with breath and questions, they always do." The candle lights itself. Behind you, the passage seals shut with a slow, final sound. For a long while, you sit in that small chamber. There's no panic, only inevitability. Like realizing a storm's been coming your whole life and now it's simply your turn to stand beneath it. The candle burns steadily, though there's no fuel, no wick, just fire, as if the flame itself decided to be present. You study the scroll again. Below the message you read before, new words begin to appear, scratching themselves into the parchment without ink or hand. Just the paper writing itself. You've come farther than most. Do you remember what you carried into the city? You try to think, what did you carry? Nothing physical, no map, no journal, just curiosity, a dream, maybe that's all it takes. The candle sputters, then steadies again. The scroll writes more. A curiosity opens more doors than keys. But not all doors are meant for returns. Something behind you creaks, you turn. The chamber is larger now. You didn't move, but the walls have pulled back, reshaped themselves. Where there was stone, there is now open space, a room filled with shelves. Books line the walls, scrolls tucked beside tablets, and strange devices hum faintly in corners you can't quite see. This is no archive of history. It's an archive of possibility. As scholars once speculated, was a convergence point, not just a city but a library where timelines brushed shoulders, where dreams left footprints, where the echo of a choice could be bound and shelved, not metaphorically, literally. You run your hand along the spine of a book, it vibrates under your touch. The title reads, the version where you stayed too long. Next to it, the version where you drank. Another, the version where you forgot everything. You step away from the shelves. The scroll on the table has now faded, curling at the edges like it's finished with you. There is one door at the back of the room. It has no knob, just a hollow, a bowl-shaped indentation. Of course it does. You remember the filled and empty bowls, the statue, the masks, the shadows in the frescoes. You realize now this isn't just a place you've stumbled into, it's a test, a pattern, a loop, and you, like the others before you, are playing your part. The scholars still debate whether the city was ever truly real, whether it had walls and markets and children with breath-counting games. Some insist it was a state of mind. Others, a metaphysical construct, whatever that means. But you know one thing now, don't you? The city never vanished. It just awaits. You don't know how long you stand before the bowl-shaped hollow in the door. There's no ticking clock, no rising sun, no passage of time that feels measurable, only your breath. In, out, the rhythm of thought slowing like waves smoothing stones. You reach into your memory. What did you carry into this city? Not a bag, not tools, just questions. And perhaps more dangerously, intent. You didn't come here to leave it alone, you came to know. The door is patient. The walls hum faintly. The shelves around you hold lives you never lived, cities that never fell, versions of yourself that never wondered what lay behind this door. You finally press your hand to the indentation. It is warm, not like fires, like blood. The door opens. The room beyond is not a room, it's open, boundless. The floor fades into mist, the sky is a deep velvet black, and overhead the stars swirl in slow, celestial spirals. They turn not in arcs but in layers, like pages being flipped by a cosmic hand. You stand on what feels like solid ground, but your footsteps leave no mark. Ahead floats a table, not rests, floats. It spins slowly, and atop it rests a single object. The mask. The same one from the chamber beneath the temple. The one you didn't touch. But now here it is again, as if it followed you. As if it waited. You reach toward it, not because you're compelled, but because the silence asks you to. It hovers just above your fingers, weightless, expressionless. Myths told of masks that could hide not the face but the soul. That by wearing one you became untraceable to the old gods, Not invisible, just unremembered, a mercy, some said, a punishment, said others. Will you pick it up? Well, the moment your fingers make contact, the stars shift. Not subtly, sharply, like a record skipping to a different track. You feel a pressure behind your eyes, not pain, just knowledge rushing in. Memories that aren't yours. Laughter in a language you've never spoken. Fireflies in a square you've never visited. A voice saying your name, but not in this lifetime. The scholars still debate whether the practiced reincarnation. Their writings suggest they believed in echoes, not returns, that each life was not a rebirth but a reverberation, a ringing out, and sometimes those echoes overlapped. Well, you drop the mask. It doesn't fall. Oh, it simply vanishes. And in its place, a figure appears. Uncloaked, veiled, still. The veiled one does not move. It does not need to. Its presence is enough to press against your skin like a second atmosphere, thick and expectant. The folds of its garment sway as if stirred by a wind that doesn't exist. The veil hides everything, but you feel watched. Not from behind the cloth, but from everywhere else. It raises one hand. It's not in greeting, not in warnings. Just acknowledgement. You hear no voice, no whisper, just thought. Yours and not yours. You saw the city. Yes, you nod, or think that you nod. Your body feels far away now, like you're piloting it remotely. You walked the loop, you drank nothings, you left everythings. You did. And yet you stayed. This is how the city survives. It is not praise, not blame. It is a statement. You ask, though not aloud, what happened, why the city vanished, why it returns only to some, why the temple breathes, why the bowl never empties. The veiled one does not answer directly. They don't deal in answers, only invitations. Around you, the mist parts slightly, revealing more paths, stone bridges stretching into the dark, flickering with images. Each one holds a version of you see it thriving, burning, empty, buried beneath sand, floating in air, traded for gold, forgotten, remembered. So many possibilities. So many truths. The believed every city had a soul, not metaphorically, but literally. That the stone, the water, the very memory of the place wove together into a living thing. And when a city was abandoned, its soul either died or wandered. Wandered, but it never left. And when it needs to be remembered, it calls someone in. Just one. At a time. The scholars still debate why you can't find on modern maps, why GPS fails, why satellites blur the valley, why hikers feel pulled off path without explanation. But none of those scholars have stood where you're standing. You could choose now. Take one of the bridges, walk into another version, become another version. Or return. Or forget. Let it fade. The veiled one tilts its head, waiting. You hear a sound behind you, a heartbeat, your own. Or maybe the city. And for the first time since entering, you realize something. You're not afraid. Not exactly. Just very, very awake. You don't choose a bridge, not yet. You stand between them watching the shifting scenes, each one a different, none of them quite your own. In one, the city is made entirely of red stone and echoing bells. In another, it sleeps beneath crystal waters, its towers swaying gently like seaweed. One is coated in snow. Another blooms with violet trees that sing or maybe hum when the wind moves. Each bridge pulses faintly as if recognizing your gaze. You sense they are not just paths but decisions. Once crossed, they close. Each leads to a version of yourself similar, yes, but bound by the shape of that city's fate. You wonder how many others have stood here, how many made a choice, how many wandered forever. The veiled one doesn't push. It does not urge, it simply is. In the last century of the city's known life stopped recording linear time. Their tablets stopped using dates and instead marked events by emotion. The day of uneasy silence, the afternoon of sudden laughter, the hour of shared breath. Their calendars had no days, just feelings stacked one upon another like sediment. You step forward not onto a bridge, but closer to the veiled one. The figure responds with a movement so slight, so delicate, that it may have only existed because you expected it to. You ask with your eyes your thoughts, or maybe just the breath you didn't realize you were holding. Why me? The response isn't words. It's a sensation, like being seen from behind your own eyes, like being weighed, not judged, but measured. Then a pulse, low and slow. One of the bridges dims. Another brightens. And in that instant, you understand the unspoken rule. You don't choose the bridge. The city chooses the version of you that suits its need. You are not a guest. You are a function. And this place, this swirling spiral of time and stone and memory, isn't a remnant. It's a machine. And tonight, you're the part that fits. The bridge before you is simple. A narrow thread of stone, worn at the edges, no rails, no light beyond what the mist offers. It stretches forward into shadow, and though the others remain shimmering, breathing, you know this one is yours. You step onto it. Your foot touches stone, and suddenly the air changes. It thickens behind you. You don't look back, not because you can't, because you shouldn't. The bridge curves slightly, like the spine of some ancient, slumbering thing. Each step forward is met with a faint chime beneath your feet, as if the very act of walking is music. Ahead, the mist parts slowly to reveal what looks like a doorway. It's simple, circular, carved into a wall of glassy black stone. No hinges, no handles. It's only another bowl-shaped hollow. Of course. You press your hand to it, and something within the door responds, not mechanically, but organically. Like something on the other side just opened an eye. The doorway melts away. You step through and find yourself back in, but not the one you remember. This version is crisper, newer. The air smells of rain and clean clay. The buildings stand tall by time. Market stalls bustle with color. Children chase each other between mosaic fountains. Music plays from an unseen source, soft, intricate, complex. But it's not right. Because everything is silent. Not quiet. Silent. The movements are there, people gesturing, mouths opening, but no sound reaches you. It's like watching a world behind thick glass. You walk forward unnoticed. You pass a woman selling figs, her lips move, her hands animate with a story. The man across from her laughs, but no sound. You try to speak. Nothing. Your voice does not travel here. Well, the silence is complete. And in this moment, you realize this version of your version is the one the veiled one chose not because you speak, but because you'd listen. Believed in what they called the final story, a moment when the city itself would tell its tale, not in words but in experiences. A person would walk its streets, witness its truths, absorb its memory, and in doing so, keep the city alive not on maps or in books but in knowing. You are the story now. Or rather, the story is becoming you. You pass the temple, whole again, quiet, you pass the courtyard. The chained pillar is gone. A cat sleeps on a sun-warmed step. And everything is perfect. And nothing is right. Well, the silence isn't peace. It's waiting. The entire city is holding its breath, waiting for what comes next. Waiting for you. You walk the silent city like a dreamer wandering their own memory, each street familiar and foreign, each face blurred at the edges like paint left in the rain. The buildings shimmer faintly as though unsure whether they are meant to be solid or imagined. The fig seller smiles at a customer who isn't there. A man waters a plant that never wilts. A child chases something invisible, giggling soundlessly into the still air. This is pristine, untouched. The version that perhaps never fell, never vanished, never needed to. And yet it feels wrong. Too clean, too quiet, too preserved. Like a wax figure of a city. You turn a corner and come upon the same library from your earlier visit, only now its doors are open. Inside, rows upon rows of scrolls and tablets sit untouched, their edges still crisp as if inked yesterday. But there's something else. The mirrors. Framed in silver, tall, and standing alone in the center of the room. It does not reflect you. Instead, it shows the other. The broken ones. The flooded one. The burning ones. Your gaze flickers from city to city, each playing out like a living memory trapped behind glass. You watch people run, scream, vanish. You watch temples collapse and towers rise. You watch versions of yourself, standing, weeping, laughing, wearing masks you've never touched, saying words you've never learned. Each reflection ends the same way: the bowl, the water, the silence. You step away. The mirror does not follow, but you feel its memory trailing after you, like the hem of a forgotten dream. Mystics believed mirrors weren't for reflection but containment. That the images they showed were not of what is, but what might have been possibilities trapped in polished prisons. To break a mirror was to release the world within. There's a reason so few mirrors have been recovered from the ruins. You exit the library and find yourself once again before the temple. Its doors are open. Inside, the bowl glows. Not reflects, glows. The water is golden now, thick with light, and around it the figures from the frescoes have changed positions. They face you now. You step inside because everything else in the city leads you here. The bowl waits, and suddenly you hear something. Faint, just one sound. A single breath. Not yours. You freeze like a page half-turned. The breath you heard wasn't loud, but it was present. Real. It echoed in a temple that had forgotten how to echo. You approach the bowl slowly. The figures on the wall remain still, their veils unmoved, their hands raised in silent reverence. The golden liquid pulses faintly as though aware of your presence or perhaps responding to it. The closer you come, the more you feel a pressure behind your eyes, gentle but insistent, like memory trying to resurface. And then a whisper, a faint barely there, not in your ears, in your thoughts. A drink. The word isn't command, it's suggestion. The way a lullaby suggests sleep or a sunset suggests closure. You hesitate. The city holds still around you. No birds. No wind. No time. Once held a belief that water carried memory, not just for the living, but for the city itself. They practiced a ritual known as the inward tide, where elders would drink from sacred pools and then recite stories in reverse, starting from the end and working back to the beginning. It was said that if the ending changed in the telling, the memory itself could be rewritten. You stare into the bowl and wonder what story it would make of you. Your reflection ripples, then disappears. And what returns is not you. Not quite. It's your face, but older or younger or simply other. The eyes are deeper and the expression is calm, not peaceful, resolved. You do not drink. Instead, you ask aloud, because what else can you do? What happens if I do? The silence doesn't answer. But the reflection smiles. Just slightly. And then the temple shifts. You don't see it move, you feel it like a muscle twitching in sleep. The shadows realign, the bowl dims, and outside the city lights begin to flicker, one by one. Lanterns going out. Windows fading. Bridges disappearing. The version of you've walked begins to recede, not collapse, not explode, just withdraw, as if it was never built but borrowed on loan. Some memory being reclaimed. The scholars still debate whether the city truly chose its visitors, or whether it was the bowl all along, that the water somehow lured minds capable of being changed, molded, written into. You look up. The fresco figures have changed again. One of them now wears your face. You back away slowly. The bowl is still full. Still waiting. You whisper this time aloud. I didn't drink. But the temple knows better. You step back into the street, if it can still be called that. The buildings around you are dissolving, their edges softening like sugar in rain. The fig seller flickers once, twice, then vanishes mid-laugh. The fountain crumbles in reverse, stones stacking back into a neat pile, water turning into mist and slipping upward into the sky. It is folding in on itself. Not violently, not with chaos. Just gently. Like a bedtime story being closed mid-sentence. The silence now carries weight. It isn't just quiet, it's saturated. As if every whisper, every lost thought, every memory that ever touched these stones is seeping back into the roots of the city, locking itself away. You walk forward, your footsteps no longer making sound. You try to hum just to feel something real. Nothing comes out. Your breath is visible in the air now, even though it's not cold. The city is not ejecting you. It's releasing you. One last time you glance back at the temple, the doors are closed, the bowl unseen, the frescoes sealed behind centuries of silence. And still, behind your eyes, you carry the feeling that something is watching. believed that leaving the city meant forgetting it, not metaphorically, literally, that the mind, when exposed to the city's full truth, would seal itself out of protection. Only those who refused to drink would remember anything at all. And even then, memory would leak like water through a cracked bowl. You pass the chained column once more. It's whole again, but the chains are loose now, lying in the dirt like shed skin. You wonder what was bound there. You wonder what isn't anymore. As you reach the city's edge, you find one last inscription, half buried in the worn stone gate. To remember is to carry is to invite. The scholars found this inscription and dismissed it as poetic nonsense. But you feel it now, like a whisper coiled around your heartbeat. You turn once slowly, taking it all in. The temples, the streets, the silent faces of people who may never have existed, and yet seem to know you better than most. You nod just once. And then, if it is gone, you awaken on a trail. No city, no gates, just trees and the sound of birds and your own breath catching in your throat. Your clothes are dusty, your fingers stained faintly with soot. There's a scent on the air, burnt rosemary perhaps, or something older. Your pack is at your feet. A notebook inside, open to a blank page. But when you reach for your pen, you find your hand trembling slightly, as though it remembers a weight it no longer carries. You try to write. Nothing comes. No names, no places. Just a vague image of stone, of silence, of something waiting in the dark with its face veiled and its hands extended. And then a word. Without willing it, your fingers begin to write. It comes slowly, as if being fed through your skin. Then another. Then a line you don't recognize. You don't speak it aloud, but your eyes linger on it and a chill brushes your spine. It doesn't matter what it says. Not yet. Because deep down you know it's not a message. It's a permission slip. The call to return. Later you'll look for maps, GPS coordinates. You'll try to find the valley again. You'll tell yourself you imagined it or dreamed it or hallucinated it. You'll check the soles of your shoes for evidence. You'll reread books, call old professors, search archives for ancient cities that never officially existed. And you'll find nothing. Not a ruin. Not a name. Not even an echo. Because is a place you do not find. It's a place that finds you. And now that it has. Well, you've already drunk enough. The days that follow feel both heavy and paper-thin. You go about your life or what looks like life. You eat, sleep, type, smile at the right moments. But there's a thread running under it all, something taut, something humming, something waiting to be pulled. You dream often now. Not of the temple, not of the bowls. You dream of bridges. Long, narrow stone ones suspended in mist with no sky above or ground below. You're always walking, sometimes toward something glowing, sometimes away from something you never quite see. And always there's a whisper in the distance, one you can never quite hear. One morning you wake with a single word etched into your palm. Not ink, not marker, just there. Remembers. It fades before lunch. Your notebooks begin to fill with diagrams, spirals, veils, sketches of temples you don't recall drawing, phrases in a looping script you don't recognize but know how to read. Your calendar app glitches once, replacing your reminders with entries like inward tide and folded sky observe. You delete them. They return. Your reflection changes too, not dramatically, just subtly. Sometimes when you pass a mirror, your eyes lag a second behind. Sometimes they look too still. Sometimes they smile when you haven't. Believed in mirror days times when reality and its reflection stepped out of sync. During these windows, it was said you should avoid reflective surfaces, lest you see something you were not meant to know, or worse, something that was never you. You begin to cover the mirrors, not out of fear, out of politeness. You try for a while to forget. You throw yourself into work, into errands, into the small joys of ordinary life. But every so often, you catch yourself staring at puddles, at glass, at darkened windows. Waiting. The worst part. You don't remember what you're waiting for. It comes again on a Tuesday. You're sorting laundry of all things. Hands full of fabric, head full of grocery lists and half-finished to-dos. And then, just as you reach for the dryer door, you feel it. The pull. Not physical, not painful. Just a shift. Like gravity deciding it's tired of rules. You stand very still, listen. Nothing obvious, no voices, no chanting, no great veil parting. But the air is wrong. Thicker, quieter, as if the world has ducked behind a curtain to see if you'll notice it missing. You glance at the window. Outside, the light has turned a different kind of gold. The sort that doesn't belong to any hour, not morning, not dusk, just between. And there, in the corner of the sky, a shape, a city, upside down, suspended like a chandelier. Faint, blurred, but unmistakable. You blink. It's gone. I called this the blooming above. The once-a-century moment when their city reflected itself in the sky not as it was, but as it might become. It was seen only by those who had touched the bowl, or stood before the veiled one, or dreamed too deeply under the wrong moon. It was said that those who saw the blooming would soon be visited. You try to go back to your day. The laundry tumbles. The radio hums. Your phone buzzes with an innocuous alert. But you can't shake it. That image, that echo of a city upside down, reaching out to you like a hand dipped in water. And that night, you dream again. But this time, you don't walk the bridge. You stand at the gates. They open slowly. And somewhere behind them, someone whispers, "You're early this time." And you wake, heart steady, eyes wide. Smiling. Because now you understand. You never left. You just stepped sideways. The realization sits with you like an extra shadow, one that never touches your feet, yet always seems to stretch ahead of you. You're not scared, not really. What would be the point? It's like being scared of your own reflection, even though sometimes your reflection forgets to be you. Your days continue, or appear to, but the texture of them has changed. You find strange things in your pockets, a stone you've never seen before, a folded slip of paper in a language no one speaks, but your fingers know how to unfold it just right, a tiny coil of silver thread, and a bowl-shaped indentation pressed into the cover of your old journal, though you're certain it was smooth last week. You chalk it up to fatigue, maybe stress, maybe a vivid imagination finally turning against you, but then you start noticing it in others too. A man on the bus humming the same rhythm you heard in the temple. A child in a park stacking pebbles in a spiral and whispering numbers backwards. A woman at the library who pauses mid-step, turns to stare at you with eyes far too still, and says, "You didn't drink," before walking on like nothing happened. You never see her again. Wrote of the carriers individuals who bore the memory of the city not in their minds, but in their lives. Their routines would warp, their senses would soften, their words would twist mid-sentence without their knowing, and eventually their shadow would return to the city even if they did not. Well, that night you dream again. But this time it's different. You are in the temple, yes, but you are not alone. All around you, silent figures wear versions of your face. Well, one drinks, one runs, one kneels, one whispers over and over. I remember, I remember, I remembers. You do not speak. You simply lift the bowl. But before it touches your lips, you wake. You are holding nothing. And yet your hands are wet. You stop talking about it even to yourself. It's easier that way. You pretend the dreams are just dreams. You go on walks that do not end at temples. You nod politely when the barista says your name like a riddle. You stop asking mirrors to confirm that you are real. Because you're not sure you'd like the answer. You begin to hear music sometimes. Not from speakers or radios, not from the world, but from beneath it. A low, resonant hum. A tone that vibrates in your bones more than your ears. It follows no melody, no rhythm, just a presence. You try to record it. The playback is silent. Of course. One morning you find a drawing on your nightstand. It's done in charcoal, rough and swift. A bridge, a figure at its center. No face, no hands, just robes and a bowl in place of a head. You didn't draw it. Probably. Believed dreams were collaborative, that while you slept, something slept with you, sharing the stage of your unconscious. They left offerings under their beds, bits of thread, slivers of bark, polished bone, to bribe the visitors for gentler dreams. You find yourself doing the same. You don't mean to. But one night you wake to see a button and a feather resting neatly on your pillow. You don't own either. You leave them on the window sill. They're gone by mornings. The city, it seems, is polite if you're polite to it. But it's growing bolder. That afternoon, you find the word inward scratched into the frost on your bathroom mirror. You hadn't seen frost in weeks. You wipe it away, heart poundings. But when you return that evening, your coffee mug has cracked. Right down the middle. Into two halves. Like a bowl. The days blur now, not in speed but in texture. You can still account for time, what you ate, what you did, where you were, but it all feels like a stage play you're watching from the wings. You still have conversations, you still sleep. but the space between events seems to stretch, filled with the quiet presence of something listening. And always the dreams. Last night you walked the marketplace again, but this time everything was backwards. People walked in reverse. Words flowed in strange spirals. You passed yourself, older, maybe wiser, maybe more tired, selling mirrors at a stall labeled Reflections, lightly used. You woke with a dried fig in your hand. Mystics practiced a ritual called the reversal. It was rarely spoken of and never written in full, but fragments suggest it was used to unlive a memory, to peel it back like fruit skin and see what had always been hiding beneath. The danger, of course, was in what you might find, not the past, but a different present. So today, the wind outside smells like dust and crushed herbs. You try not to think of the temple, but you do find yourself walking toward the edge of town without planning it. Your feet take you down a path you don't remember learning. Your mind drifts as you pass rusted gates, familiar trees, a stream that gurgles something like your name. And then you find it. A stone archway. A half collapsed. Covered in moss. Beneath it, a single step leading downward. Just one. You blink and it's gone. But not before you see a symbol carved into the lintel. The coiled eyes. You don't take the step. You turn around. The walk home. Tell yourself it was a hallucination. A daydream. But the dirt on your shoes tells a different story. And that night, just before sleep, you hear a soft voice, not a whisper, not a thought. You left the door open. You wake with the distinct feeling that something has been rearranged. Not your room, not your house, not even the world. It's subtle, like finding your favorite mug with the handle on the wrong side. Like hearing your own laugh and not recognizing the shape of it. You try to shake it off, but the feeling stays. It lingers. That morning, your reflection is a beat too late again. You test it, waving your hand slowly, and the mirror follows, just a blink behind. You smile, it frowns. You stop smiling. Had an expression, the mirror is the memory. They believed that reflections carried truths the mind couldn't hold. Not secrets, but echoes. Every time you saw yourself, you weren't seeing you, but the last version of you the city had let go. You begin covering the mirrors again, not out of superstition, not out of fear. Out of courtesy. You start writing again, little notes, sketches, diagrams. You don't know why, you don't remember doing it. But they appear in your journals, in the margins of receipts, on your fogged bathroom tiles. Words like, the loop vessel breathing sleep. And always the bowls. Sometimes full. Sometimes empty. Once cracked. That night the dream is vivid. You stand in the bowl itself. It's massive, the size of a coliseum. You are ankle deep in golden water. The surface is glassy, and when you look down, the water doesn't reflect you. It reflects the city. Not as it is, as it will be. A crumbling, the silent, swallowed by something not quite wind. A voice calls from the edge. The soft, unafraid. You're not the first. You turn but see no one. And then you wake. In your hand, the coins, the worn bronzes. Stamped with a 13 raid sun. You didn't own a coin like this before. But now, it feels heavier than your memories. You carry the coin everywhere now. You don't mean to. It just ends up in your pocket, your palm, your shoe. You try to leave it on your dresser, but by lunch it's nestled in your bag again. You once tucked it into a drawer and locked it. Hours later, it rolled off your desk. It doesn't make a sound when it falls. The sun stamped into its surface is worn smooth, but you still count the rays. 13. Always 13. Revered the number not as superstition but as structure. The 13th of anything was sacred. The 13th stair in a temple, the 13th bell in a chime sequence, the 13th heartbeat after midnight. All points of contact, all doorways. You hold the coin up to a lamp one evening and notice something new. Under the right light, the flat surface of the sun bends, revealing another shape layered faintly beneath the rays. As that blows, love of course. The next dream comes quietly. You're standing in a field. Gentle hills rise and fall like the breath of the earth. In the center is the temple, but older now. Cracked, half-buried, its dome sunk into the ground. The walls breathe in slow pulses. The sky above is too large, too close. You approach the structure and hear laughter. Children, adults, figures dressed in robes stitched with thread that shimmers like rainfall. They pay you no mind. You walk past them toward the temple door. The moment you touch the threshold, time folds. Not breaks, folds. And you're inside. And the bowl is gone. In its place is a mirror. And in the mirror, your face. But it's not looking back. It's looking elsewhere. You speak your name. Your reflection answers with someone else. You wake with a gasp. On your wrist, written in ash or dust or something stranger, are the words. You're almost through. You wash it off. But your skin remembers the weight of it. And your coin. Now it's warm. Your appetite fades, replaced by a craving that isn't for food. You feel hollow, but not in a painful way, more like a cup waiting to be filled. Everything mundane begins to shimmer with slight unreality. Blinking lights feel like winks, car horns echo too long, your own voice sounds recorded. You begin avoiding puddles. Not because of superstition, but because the reflections have stopped syncing up again. You don't need that kind of conversation right now. Believed reflections could step ahead of you in time. That puddles, mirrors, pools, and even polished copper could sometimes slip free of the moment and show not the now but the nearly. There were tales of lovers meeting their own deaths in river water, of merchants watching themselves argue in next week's marketplace, and of seers who looked into fountains and refused to look away. You remember that story now. Probably because you saw yourself yesterday in a storefront window, standing still while you walked on. You never caught up. The coin gets heavier again. Now when you hold it, you swear it hums, a tiny, low frequency that you feel more than hear. The 13 rays on its surface twitch sometimes in the corner of your vision, like they're rotating ever so slightly. That night you light a candle. No resistance. Just instinct. The flame dances like it's glad to see you. You don't remember falling asleep. But when you open your eyes, you're standing in the archive again. The obsidian hallway, the floating shelves, the mask on the plinth. Only this time there's no mist, no bridges, no spinning city overhead. There is only you, and a book, bound in cracked leather. No title, just a coiled eye burned into its spine. While you open it, the pages are blank, but your hands move. The writings, not words you understand, but shapes, loops, lines, a language deeper than sound. You are not dreaming. You are documenting. The city is using you now, not as a vessel, but as a pen. And when you wake, your fingers are stained black. The coin, gone, in its place. The feather, the white, and still slightly warm. You don't remember where you put the feather. You're certain you laid it down gently somewhere safe, somewhere you'd remember. But now it's gone, and in its place sits an old brass key. You haven't used a key in years. Everything in your life has been digital, cards, apps, fingerprints. But this key is heavy, ornate, and oddly familiar. Its teeth are carved in a spiral, and the handle is shaped like a crescent moon cupping a bowl. Of course, you slip it into your pocket without thinking. By now, the city lives under your skin. Not literally, there are no symptoms, no sickness, just resonance like a string tuned to a pitch only you can hear. You find yourself listening for silence the way others listen for music. You scan crowds for faces you don't know but somehow recognize. You see doorways where there aren't any and avoid stepping through them just in case. You've stopped questioning it. It's easier to live inside the story than to keep trying to escape it. The dreams feel less like dreams now. Last night you returned to the temple again, but it was not broken, it was alive. Not with people with breaths. The stone pulsed like lungs. The bowl hovered midair, spinning slowly, its contents sloshing without spilling. Around you, the frescoes changed each time you blinked, figures dancing, nailing, vanishing, weeping. And in the center, facing you, yourself, wearing the mask. The figure lifted its hand, not to greet you, to offer something. The key. Then when you reached out to take it, your pocket grew heavy. You woke up with the brass key already in your hand. Believed in living locks, not mechanisms but moments. They believed that some decisions were keys and some silences were locks. That when you stood still enough, quiet enough, the world would open not with force but with recognition. You stand in your kitchen that morning holding the key. Then somewhere in your home, faintly, a click, the door just unlocked. You don't have to wonder which ones. The key leads you to a part of your house you thought you knew, a hallway you've walked 100 times. But today something is off. You count the steps, 13. You never noticed that before. At the end of the hall, the linen closet stands slightly ajar. Not in invitations, in expectation. You open the door, and behind the towels, behind the shelves, there's a staircase. Narrow stones downward. Where your drywall should be, there is masonry, damp, crumbling. You shine a light. The steps descend into darkness you recognize. And you begin to laugh, quietly, sleepily. Because of course this was where it would be. The city doesn't wait for you to return. It builds its way back to you. I told a myth about the waking root, that when someone carried enough of the city's memory, its roots would reach them, blooming not in gardens but in basements, in mirrors, in minds. A portal not built, but remembered into place. You descend. The walls close around you, not threateningly, more like a familiar hug you forgot you needed. The air smells of salt and dust and something green and ancient. At the bottom of the stairs is a door. No knob, just a bowl-shaped indentation. This time, the bowl is made of bone. And your key fits. Not perfectly, not neatly, but as if it wants to. You turn it. The door doesn't open. It exhales. And what stands behind it is not a room. It is a moment. A memory. A scene half faded with time but still alive, held together by breath and belief and the slow pulse of ritual. You step into the temple once more. Only now it is not in ruins. It is not silent. It is singing. Slow and rhythmic in a language older than speech. And around the bowl, 12 veiled figures sit in a perfect circle. You step into the center. The bowl is empty. And in the space of one heartbeat, the song stops. The figures look up. And in perfect unison, they whisper, 13. And then they vanished, leaving you alone. With the bowl, with the city, with the echo. The silence that follows is not empty. It is dense, layered, alive. It breathes in the spaces where sound should be, curls into your ears, nestles behind your ribs. You don't move at first. You're not sure you can. The bowl sits before you, bone-white, wide-mouthed, pulsing faintly with the afterglow of the song you didn't know your body remembered. You step forward, because what else is there to do? You kneel, because somehow that feels right. The bowl waits, not as a trap, as a question. Believed that some questions were living things, that when asked by the right soul at the right time, they unfolded, became doors, became guides, became cities. Their phrase for this was to kneel at the edge of the answer. You run your hand along the edge of the bowl. It's warm. And then, you see it. Not inside the bowl, but through it. The stone melts into vision. A city. Not quite. A version. Built taller, narrower. Its towers lean inward like listeners. The air is thick with perfume and ash. People walk in silence. They carry mirrors on chains, dragging behind them like laced ghosts. You lean closer. Another shift. A city underwater, flickering with bioluminescent fireflies. Glass domes above every plaza. No words, only color. Songs hummed through the bones of the streets. Another. A city that never was, purely memory. Built entirely from the stories others told of it. And then, yours. The version that brought you here. You see yourself, still breathing, watching. And the moment your eyes meet your own, as everything collapses inward. not into darkness, or into sound. A single tone, low, slow, like a bell rung underwater. You fall, not through space, through yourself. And when you land, you are sitting in the bowl. You are the bowls. You are the space the city echoes into. So when you open your eyes, the temple is gone. You sit in a wide field of black grass, the sky above a dome of stars arranged in spirals that defy mathematics. There is no wind, and yet the grass dances like it's remembering a song from lifetimes ago. You are not alone. Scattered through the field are others, not many, a dozen perhaps. Each is sitting cross-legged. Each holding a mask. Each quietly watching the bowl in the center. While you stand, no one stops you. They simply observe as if they've been expecting you all along. You walk toward the bowl, which is now impossibly large, its rim reaching the height of a hill, its interior vast enough to hold cities. Inside, water churns not like a sea, but like thought, eddies of memory, swells of time. Names float to the surface and sink again. Faces, choices. You feel them trying to enter you. You resist. Lord tried to. Believed the bowl was not merely a vessel. It was a language, a conversation with the unseen spoken through gesture and breath, memory and silence. They trained for years to read it. But you just feel it. And that's enough. You kneel beside the bowl again. The figures across the field begin to hum. Low, dissonant, like bees underwater. You look down. Your reflection does not return. Instead, you see a symbol. The coiled eye. It blinks once, and suddenly you remember everything. Not just your walk through the city, but the last time. And the time before that. And the time before. You've been in here. Always. In different names, different faces, different versions. You are the 13th. Not person. Not visitor. Function. You are the loop's seal. It's hinge. It's reset. And when you drink, the city begins again. And if you do, the city ends. You look across the field. The others are watching, still humming. They have made their choice. Now you must make yours. And the bowl waits. You sit at the edge of the bowl, your knees drawn close, the hum vibrating through the soles of your feet. It is not music, not quite. It's more like pressure in the shape of song, throbbing with expectation, not menace. The others do not speak. They've done this before. Maybe not here, maybe not like this, but somewhere, somewhen. The water in the bowl spins, not by wind, not by gravity. By memory. Yours. Your face flashes beneath the surface, not once but dozens of times, some older, some younger, some smiling, some broken. You see versions of yourself holding the mask, wearing the mask, drinking, refusing. And one version, just one, that turns the bowl over and walks away. The water coils upward in response like smoke obeying thought. The song of the seated figures swells. A phrase rises from it, half-sung, half-breathed. The city is the dream is the vessel. The vessel must fill or be forgotten. Whispered that line before taking on sacred roles, keeper, mourner, scribe, roles that didn't come with titles or ceremony, just knowing, a breath passed through a cup, a name removed from the wall, a mask lifted. You reach out to the water, as it meets you halfway. A cool and weightless as it trickles across your skin, and for a moment, just one heartbeat, you understand everything. The shape of time, the reason no birds ever return to the temple, the purpose of the mirrors, the truth about that coin, the laughter in the dreams, the fracture in the stars. And then it vanishes. Not into the bowl, as into you. You do not drink. You absorb, and the humming stops as the watchers lower their heads. The wind passes across the field for the first time, and somewhere far away something clicks. You feel the city stir. So not the new ones, the one that's about to begin. The grass beneath you starts to dissolve not into soil but into light, thin golden threads that unravel upward, weaving themselves into towers, streets, doors. The sky ripples like fabric tugged from behind, folding over itself again and again. Stars rearrange into a spiral, a bowl, a veiled face. The city is not being built. It's being remembered. And you are its keystone. You rise and the others rise with you. Their masks are gone. Their eyes are not eyes anymore, but mirrors, tiny bowls reflecting only sky. They speak in perfect unison, voices made of wind and echo. You chose the third path. You don't recall choosing anything. But perhaps that's the point. A prophecy spoke of 3 paths: drink, refuse, transform. Only the third was unrecorded, not because it was forbidden, because it had never succeeded. As until now, you look down. The bowl is gone. In its place, the mask. Your mask. But this time, it does not wait for you to lift it. It lifts itself and settles over your face like a sigh. You feel no weight, as only clarity. It's everything sharpens. The edges of the field resolve into stone courtyards. The figures dissolve into torches along a dark corridor, and the humming returns, now distant, like thunder 5 cities away. You are no longer the visitors. You are the city. Your breath curls through alleyways. Your heartbeat echoes in the temple domes. Your silence gathers behind doorways and mirrors. You see new people approaching. Curious. Dreamers. Carriers. The first one is already at the gate, blinking up at a crumbled arch. You feel their hesitation, their breath, their loop beginning. And without meaning to, you whisper through every cracked wall, every broken fountain, every empty bowl. Welcome. And the city breathes in. You exist differently now. Not in one place, but many. Not in time, but between times. A shape made of thresholds. A rhythm that threads through bridges and bells, dreams and drain pipes, keys left on nightstands and questions never fully asked. You are not a person anymore. You are a patterns. And the pattern is familiar. Because it's always been you. Is awake. Not with fanfare, not with bright trumpets or holy light. With quiet. With the slow steps on worn stone. with echoes in doorways, with bowls that fill only when no one's watching. You feel the new visitor enter. She steps lightly. She is young but has the soul of someone who's lost more than she can name. She does not carry much, but she carries enough. A cracked notebook, a ring she doesn't wear, a scar that burns only when she dreams of water. She walks the outer district first, where the statues lean sideways and the wind never blows the same way twice. She whispers once your name, a prayer. And in that moment, you shift. You become the glint in the mirror she passes. The shape in the alley she doesn't quite see. The weight in her pocket when she pulls out the coin she didn't remember taking. 13 rays. You smile though you have no mouths. She walks toward the temple. You become the temple. Your bones the columns, your breath the warm air pressing against her cheeks. You guide her hand, not with force, but with recognition. She will choose, she must. You do not interfere. You only watch. Because you remember what it was to kneel, what it was to ask, and what it was to leave, carrying the city not on your back but beneath your skin. The dream reshapes around her now. The bowl is still full. You made sure of it. The city continues. That is its gift and its curse. It does not die because it does not exist in the way other cities do. It is written in footfalls, in choices, in the brief moment between curiosity and surrender. It flickers in the breath before a question. It thrives in silence. More visitors will come. Some will refuse. Some will drink. A rare few will become. Each will live changed. Each will carry echoes. Sometimes they'll hear whispers when no one is there. Sometimes they'll dream of masks and veiled figures and bridges suspended in mist. Sometimes they'll find bowls in places bowls should not be. But most will forget. And forgetting, too, is part of the patterns. You drift through layers of the city now, from the upside-down marketplace that exists only in reflections to the underground garden that blooms only when no one watches it. You rest in the heavy silence beneath the old bathhouse, where steam still rises from dry stone. You wander into libraries that hold only blank books, until someone dares to write in them. You listen. Because you are the memories, the archive, the loop, and always, always the bowl waits. One night, months, years, heartbeats from now, another visitor will come. They'll arrive tired, lost, curious. They'll trace their fingers along the temple walls, feeling the heartbeat in the stone. And they'll ask, what happened here? And somewhere deep beneath the city, you'll respond. Not in words, not in voice, but in stillness, and the soft breath of the bowl refilling. All because the city is patient, and so are you. And now the cycle slows. You drift back through the layers of the city, not to change anything, not to command, but to observe, to settle. The bridges soften behind you, curling into mist once more. The temple breathes out a final gust of warmth before falling silent again. The bowl, full now, rests at the center of the story like a steady heartbeat beneath thick blankets of memory. You hover above it all, not as a god, not as a ghost, but as something far older and far simpler. A witness, a ripple, a memory that remembers itself. Would have called this moment the night's spine, the final stretch of stillness before the sky turns pale, before the breath of dream is exhaled fully and the sleeper floats back into waking. They believed the soul had to walk backward across its memories before rejoining the world, as if to thank each one for being real, even for a moment. And so you do the same. You pass the quiet garden with the fountain that never flows. You brush your fingers along the veined walls of the library with no titles. You step once more into the archive, where the shelves hold stories shaped like people and time folds like laundry. You see the others again, the veiled figures, the watchers, the reflections of yourself wearing masks you haven't yet earned. They do not wave, they do not speak, but they nod. And in that nod, you feel a warmth spread through the dark, a silent kindness, a promise perhaps. One last time you approach the gates. The same crumbled arch you once crossed under long ago, when you still thought you were a visitor. Now you understand. You were never just passing through. You were being written in. The gate breathes once, and gently, the city closes its eyes. Then it's quiet now. The streets have emptied, the shadows have returned to their corners, and the bowl rests full, content for now. The city no longer watches, but it remembers, softly, kindly. In the way old dreams sometimes sit with us just before morning, asking for nothing but to be remembered. You feel it, don't you? That weight lifting, that whisper of silence no longer so lonely. Your breathing is slower now, your hands stilled, your thoughts unwinding. Like smoke curling from an unseen lantern. There is no need to hold on to every word. The city does that for you. It holds your questions, your wonder, your footsteps, and your silence. It has held many before you. It will hold many more. You are part of it now. Not lost. Not trapped. Just gently woven in. So let your thoughts drift. Let the spiral unfold. You do not need to remember the mask or the temple or the bridges. The city will remember you. Close your eyes. Let your breath fall in time with the wind weaving through empty courtyards. Let your heart beat with the rhythm of 13 soft bells ringing behind the stars. Let your mind float quiet and wide. You are safe. You are remembered. You are already home. Sleep now, love. The city is quiet, and the bowl is full.